welcome to UC Bearcats on the Prowl, part of the Growing Truth Radio Network. As always, I'm your host, James Ernest, and, of course, my co-host, Mark Fightmaster. Mark, what's up this week?
Hey, what's going on, James? How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about UC.
No.
Seems like it's been a rough week for them on the field and off the field, from the things that they've done against Temple to the things Coach has been saying in the last day or so.
Right. We were talking about that before we came on air. You know, the Temple game, just brutal. You know, the second half was terrifying. It's almost not even worth talking about the way they performed. You know, I obviously thought it was going to be better than it was. I predicted UC was going to win. You being the contrarian made the right pick this past week. But the thing that just really, really chapped me was the comments by Coach Tuberville about the team not being good and not expecting to be good this year. And, you know, as we were talking, there's some validity to what he said. You know, there definitely is some validity. But to hear a Division I coach at can you even call UC a mid-major school? You know, I consider them a major college football program. To hear a coach at a major college football program say that really disappointed me.
I agree with you. Yeah, I mean, if it was, say, Butler, because they don't exactly excel at football, or this Friday I'm going to check out the Miami of Ohio football game. No offense to Miami of Ohio, but there was Ben Roethlisberger, and then everything else, not worth mentioning. So, I mean, if a coach up there said something like that, you see that. But you're right. You see within the last 10, 20 years has had nice runs. They've, had pretty good expectations the last couple of years. So it's kind of hard to say that we just didn't feel we were going to be any good this year.
Yeah. Yeah, all right, James, I got to interrupt. I'm watching the World Series game. Chapman just gave up a 2-run home run to tie. The game's tied.
Oh, my. That is...
Yeah. Sorry. We were talking about that off the air, too, so just thought you might enjoy that.
Oh, no, I'm glad you did. Yeah, because, I mean, dang, they've been coming back, and just the whole curse and all that is just ridiculous. But, yeah, you see, they need to do something. I mean, I know Tuberville was trying to get another year out of things because, of course, they've started talking up December 7th. And normally December 7th, we think about Pearl Harbor, but December 7th could be a day of infamy for Tuberville because that's the first day they can – that's either the first day or the last day that he's guaranteed. Yeah. After that, they can buy him out for $800,000 less or $500,000 less. So it's
exactly. You know, to hear what he said to me, that's a coach who has basically accepted his fate. You know, he's resigned to the fact that he's done, and he has accepted that, and basically is almost trying to make excuses. It just really bugs me. I expected better this year. I think everybody expected better this year, and it just didn't happen. And to hear him say that, to me, that's almost giving up. So, maybe on December 7th, December 8th, we're going to be talking about who the next coach is going to be. So, we'll see.
And the nice thing is, on that December 7th, we're going to have Armin Kirkland from UC basketball, so that'll be nice.
It could be a good distraction.
Exactly. So that'll give us a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Positive side, and of course, with the whole Tuberville thing. But yeah, it baffles that it's a shame that they couldn't have last year's offense and this year's defense.
Exactly, and like we were talking, Tuberville did say some things that had some validity. Like they did lose a lot of players on offense, but still, you still think that they'd be able to at least reload a little bit. They're not gonna, like we were saying, they're not one of the powers. They're not Ohio State, who's got 3 players waiting to take over who are just as good as the person that left. But still, it's just frustrating.
Yeah, speaking of, one of the current NFL players, we're in talks right now with Justin Martin of Denver to be on the show 2 weeks from tonight.
Oh, excellent. That'll be fun.
Hopefully that works out. It just depends on, he's concerned with some schedule conflicts, but yeah, if he can move things around, he's wanting to be on the show. And Denver's having a nice season, so it'd be good to hear from them and hear what he's doing there. Yeah. Because unfortunately,
that'd be outstanding.
Down this year and beat the Bengals.
Yep.
Let's see. So this week they're playing BYU. Of course, last season he had some difficulties. What do you feel that the keys to the game are?
Well, looking at the stats, this is actually a pretty even matchup. Both teams are 4-4. Both rushing offenses are, let's see, BYU's, if I remember correctly, is a little bit better ranked than UC's. UC's got the 115th rated rushing attack in the NCAA, and I believe BYU's is 46, so it is considerably better. Their rushing defense is 31st, BYU's. So we're going to have to see UC go to the air, which could help them a little bit because BYU's pass defense is not as good. They're rated 118th in the NCAA. So they're going to have to work through the air, and that's going to work with Gunner. That's a good thing. But, is he going to have time to throw? Are they going to make the catches? There's just a lot of variables that are going to come into play here. And where I was confident last week that the air attack was going to be able to open things up against Temple, after that second half performance, I am nowhere near as comfortable saying that. So we'll have to see what they can do. They got to go out and play the game. So we'll see what happens. Now, UC's pass offense, I'm sorry, they're ranked 36th. I said they were 94th. I was looking at their defense. So hopefully they'll be able to get things going through the air and make some headway there. So we shall see. Again, they got to go out and play it. So. And
I agree with you. Currently both of them have the same record, 4-4. However, the main difference is between BYU and UC. BYU lost to Utah, UCLA, West Virginia, and Boise State.
Right.
Yeah, where UC got their head kicked in last week by Temple. Boise State is rated 14. West Virginia, they lost by 3, or BYU lost by 3. They lost by 3 to UCLA and by 1 to Utah. So combined, they probably lost by 8 to 10 points, where, UC has had games where they lost by 20 in one game.
Exactly. And so the quality of their losses, if there is such a thing as a quality loss, is much better. And you see one of the more, I keep saying one of the more disappointing things, their inability to close the games. Look at all the leads they've lost in the second half and even later. I mean, the Houston game, the UConn game, they were up 9-0, got outscored 20-0 the rest of the game. So it's going to be a tough one for the Cats. I'm not going to lie, and when picking time comes, I'm going to pick BYU. So.
Yeah, that is the disappointing thing. And then, of course, they came out with the rankings. Not that UC was anywhere near that. But, yeah, with the bowl rankings and all, and that was the craziness with Penn State being number 12. I mean, it was just ridiculous because their logic was, they beat Ohio State and then put them all the way up there.
Well, but you want to talk about somebody looking at quality losses. Look at Texas A&M being rated 4th. They got beat by Alabama, and they're ahead of a Washington team that has no losses. Exactly. And what's crazy is, and I'm an Ohio State fan, unabashed. I am not ashamed to say it. I'm an Ohio State fan. Ohio State is rated ahead of Louisville. Ohio State, in my eyes, right now, is not better than Louisville. So we'll have to see what those rankings bring as time comes. That was some crazy stuff.
I agree with you. Yeah, especially the Washington. I mean, I feel that if things would play out between now and the end of the season, even if both teams go undefeated, which then of course people are going to be like, well, if both teams win out, shouldn't the Texas A&M stay ahead of them? But Texas A&M, if they win out, other than the conference championship, they won't, or they, in theory, based on how the committee says they do, they wouldn't stay ahead of them because Washington winning the conference.
Right, and then if you look at it that way, if Ohio State can win out, I would think that both Ohio State and Washington would jump ahead of Texas A&M. Now, obviously, if the top three remain the same, then only one of those two would get in. But if Ohio State were to win out, Michigan would have to lose, so we'd have to see what happened up at the top. To me, it's just interesting that two SEC teams were rated that high. But, it is what it is. It's all rankings right now. You got to play it on the field.
Yeah, unfortunately, there will always be a little bit of a conference bias there.
Oh, yeah.
It seems like it'll automatically, even though they don't rank the conferences, it seems like SEC, and then it's usually like Big 10 and then Big 12. And then, of course, with the Big 12 not having an outright conference championship game, really tends to hurt them. I mean, was it Baylor and TCU a couple of years ago? Where, one of them definitely should have been in the 4, but they didn't get to. But then it worked out because, of course, Ohio State was brought into the 4 and
ended up winning it.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, I don't think we're very far from seeing this expand to an 18 playoff.
Thank you. That was exactly what I was thinking, that they need to do that. Any more than that is overkill. It's any more than that, if you don't, you're not one of the top 8. Yeah, I mean, of course, at some point, it would end up being just like the basketball tournament where it would be ridiculously huge. I mean, it used to be 64, and God knows what number it's up to now, 72 or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
And they still talk about expanding because, of course, the almighty dollar.
Oh, yeah. And there's so much money in it.
Snubbed, but no. If you got snubbed from the NCAA, go ahead and win the NIT and then prove us wrong,
Right. And quite honestly, if you get snubbed by the NCAA basketball tournament, they take seemingly everybody. So, it is the spectacle of March Madness. It's a big time moneymaker. So.
Sounds good. So let's do the picking, because we had been doing commercial breaks, and it's a funny story. Turns out they weren't putting in commercials.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so we would follow, and now the commercial break, and then people at home were listening and going, what commercial? You
there's no commercial.
Why'd you say commercial break?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so that was kind of funny because I just found that out the other day. He's like, I had not put in any commercials in for you.
Nice.
Okay, yeah, I figured he was putting something in there. So, but yeah, I agree with you. This week, BYU should roll, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the good news about that is I have a Xavier game to go to at 4:00, where the UC game starts at 2:30. So I'm sure by 4:00, I won't feel bad about leaving because I feel it's going to be 32-16, something like that.
Yeah, I'm in the range. I'm thinking it's going to end up being like 35-14, something there. I just don't see the defense being able to stop BYU, and I honestly don't see this offense doing much of anything against them.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be a lot like last week's game, and oh gosh, yeah, that's no fun to watch.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, so hopefully things will turn around. I mean, Tuberville did bring up some good things. He mentioned some of the recruits that next year and the following year are going to be able to step up and do things for them. But unfortunately, that doesn't help anybody this season.
No, not at all.
And then just want to mention a couple neat things for the upcoming weeks. Next week, of course, we have our big guest, Terry Nelson, covering basketball. Right now we have him slotted from 10:40 to 11:10. But to be quite honest with you, he probably has so much stuff with basketball that it could spill over. And then,
right, he definitely could.
And then we have Terrell Birdman, who was a star nose tackle for UC. So, gosh, that is going to be a fun show next week.
It definitely will. It will be good. A lot of information and covering both sports. It'll be great.
And then I hope to even bring in a little bit of insight on the women's game. Because going to that tomorrow night, I forget who they're playing. It's one of those preseason games, Sisters of the Poor, whoever, that kind of thing. So UC should have a nice win, nice feather in their cap, and some good stuff for me to talk about next week.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be fun.
I'd like to thank our fans, Bearcats on the Prowl. As always, I'm James Ernest and Mark Fightmaster, and we'd like to thank you all for listening.